Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Business Success Society. It's an online community of small and solo business owners, and if you would like to join us, then details will be posted at the end of this video. This is the first of a series of monthly two-way Facebook Lives. I'm just going to bring Shiona on now, and there we go. And approve, there we go. And you have a special skill that you would like to talk to us about, then please get in touch and we can get you scheduled in. So here we go. Hopefully Shiona is going to appear any second now, and we've got some other people now joining us, which is fabulous. That sounds better this time. Ah, brilliant. We have, this is take two. So I'm just going to move myself because I seem to have gone over to the side. Right, there we go. That's better. So we now have proper sound. Hurrah!
Yes.
We now have proper sound. So if you're watching live, fantastic. Please type any questions you have in the comments for Shiona or for me, and we'll take those probably at the end, because yeah, we'll see how it goes, Shiona. We'll see how it goes. If you're watching on replay, then please type replay in the comments, and if I'm around, I'll try and respond. And if you are watching on YouTube or elsewhere, then sorry, that won't work quite in the same way, but if you've got comments, it'll also be, for those people, there will be contact details at the end of the video. So here we go. We've got our people all coming back. Shiona's got her water. I've got my water bottle. Yes. After many years of learning, was watching somebody else spill a whole glass of water during one of these. I thought, so water everywhere.
Don't jinx it.
So it's now a water bottle. Yeah. But I had a cup of tea before and then discovered my cup had a crack in it. So I've got tea all over my desk now. So good afternoon, Shiona, and welcome. Welcome to everybody who has joined us. Shiona Campbell of BDS Services, who has volunteered to be the first guinea pig for this.
Yes.
And as I say, we've had a little trial and it all went quite well. So hopefully it will be fine. So hello to everybody. Shiona is a founder member of the Business Success Society group. So you probably joined end of January, beginning of February, something like that, way back when. And
yes,
we're always trying to find something different and interesting to offer you guys. I'm going to lean to the right, so I'm centered in my wee window, haven't I?
My phone higher.
But yes. So,
maybe not.
Oh, you've disappeared. Oh.
Sorry, I was just trying to put my phone higher.
All right.
I don't know if that's worked yet.
Is that better? You feeling more comfortable?
Well, I don't know.
So why don't you start, before we get into the meat of the topic this afternoon, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, about BDS Services?
Well, my business has been running for 2 years and I support businesses to grow, mostly through helping them to secure public sector contracts. So the public sector in Scotland in 2017-18 spent £5 billion with SMEs. So my kind of target market's SMEs.
Right, fabulous.
And the public sector, I just everything. Yeah.
We had a business conference in Stirling yesterday, and the Federation of Small Businesses, as you know, a cause very dear to my heart, was singling out Stirling for being less willing or able or just spending with SMEs, and calling for perhaps a better performance. There's definitely a huge variety just in councils in terms of what they spend with SMEs, but it is a massive opportunity. And when you see that some councils spend an enormous, and in terms of a proportion of spend, I think it's something like 18% in Stirling Council, and for various geographical reasons in Shetland it's much higher, and we can probably work out why. it does also mean, because quite often they try and give an excuse that oh, it's the rules, it's the European rules, or it's the rules, you know, we're tied by these rules, and it's obvious because some councils are doing much better than others, and presumably the same is the true within NHS trusts or whatever, there'll be a difference. So if some can spend, you know, up to sort of 30–40%, then there's no reason why the rest of them can't, presumably.
I know, yeah. Yeah, because some advertise everything, which, and then others do it in a kind of choose people to ask to apply, and that opens it up to a lot more SMEs, and yeah, and there's different ways they can open it up to SMEs, but some choose not to.
Right, indeed.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to, you know, the message as well to Holyrood as well is to put some kind of pressure perhaps on people to, you know, for targets. Let's have some targets. But so today, what we really want to talk about, and this, you know, Shiona and I had a coffee one afternoon, and it's that thing when you have a coffee with someone, all of a sudden they say something and you go, oh, that's really interesting, and you started talking about freedom of information request, and I think I know what a freedom of information request is, but I'm going to invite you to clarify in a second. But what I couldn't see is how on earth that could possibly be relevant to me as a small business owner. I mean, you know, we've often thought of questions we might like to ask, maybe more on a personal basis. But why, you know, why that would be the case. So do you want to just kind of give us a background in terms of what FOIs, because I'm into the lingo already, let's get the acronyms out, what they are.
Yeah, well, the Freedom of Information Act gives anybody that wants to the right to ask for information that that public body holds. So public bodies are like government departments, local authorities, also, sorry, I've got stuff written down here, schools, colleges and unis, NHS and doctors, any publicly owned companies, so like your local authority museums, and also emergency services. So you can ask them about just about anything. They can refuse you if the information's sensitive, and they can also tell you if it's going to cost them too much money to retrieve it, then they can either charge you or refuse to give you the information. But when you think about it, they hold reams and reams of information that, well, more than you could ever possibly process. So trying to think.
So how would you actually go about doing it then?
Right, so to make a request you have to do it in writing. A lot of public bodies have an online form to fill out, but if you were doing a kind of mass request, you can find, if you just Google it online, you can find email addresses, and normally it would be FOI at whichever the body is. So you just have to put it in writing, and you must give them a contact name and an address. But I have done some in the past where we didn't want them to know who it was asking, so we just made up a name, an email address, so joeblogs@google or gmail.com, and then just choose like a block of high-rise flats or something like that, and just choose an address within it, because realistically they're going to send you, if you put a request in by email, they're going to return the response by email.
Right.
So.
Okay, and anybody based in Britain has got the right to make that request?
Yeah, I think it's probably actually wider than Britain.
Right, okay.
But it's kind of got a bit of a, I don't know, bad name if that's the right thing, but it's known as being a way of journalists getting stories.
Right.
Definitely within the public sector, it's known as that. So like when I worked in the public sector, we'd sometimes get this inquiries, maybe how many people have taken flights and things like that, and then you would get a story like Scottish local authorities have spent £10 million flying like chief execs to London or whatever, so kind of using information that way. But anybody can ask anything, and actually there's also forums out there, I can't actually remember the name, I can put it on later, and people actually publicise the other requests they've made, and some public bodies will publicise the FOIs that have been requested. So you can also find out what other people are asking quite easily.
Right, well that's quite interesting. Yes. So
Yeah.
So okay, I've got a bit more background in terms of that now. So I still really don't quite understand how that might help me in my small business or other members of the group in their small businesses. How can we use this tool, this facility, whatever you want to call it, to benefit our businesses?
The way that I use it is a research tool. So if you're wanting to or already contracting with the public sector, then you can use it as a way of finding out what your competitors are doing within the public sector. So I used it when I've used it to look for social care, put a request round asking what hourly rates they're paying providers. I've also used it for a couple of people who are developing new products that they feel they'll be able to sell to the public sector. So one of them, they've already contacted the public sector, well, it's councils, and spoke to them about it, and they're like, yeah, well, it sounds good, but we don't really see how it would work for us. So what we've gone and done, it's a way of them saving money, is we've asked for what their current spend is, so he can then approach, it's actually about writing off debt.
Right.
So we ask what kind of debt they've got, what debt they're writing off, and then he can say to them, well, if you paid me this, I can get you X amount of information for that, which would mean you then didn't have to write off the debt.
All right, that's quite
interesting. So just like that. Also, I've been working with somebody recently who wants to kind of get into the expert help and the one-to-one work in Business Gateway. So there's information out there that's already available. So we've done the research on that, but some Business Gateway or some councils don't publish, or they're spending too low a value to have to publish the amounts that they're spending on expert help. So we've put in a freedom of information request asking them who they're contracting with and how much they're spending with them, to try and get an idea of where there's gaps and also who your competitors are and what they're paying them.
That's really quite interesting. I don't suppose anybody else had really thought that you would be able to get that information, you know, relatively freely as well.
Yeah, I suppose it comes from working in a local authority, knowing that people were asking stuff.
Yes, yeah.
So
yeah,
you just start doing
the other side and what people were asking, so that gave you the inspiration to actually do it. So if you want to submit to all the local authorities, you have to do that 32 times, yes, but presumably it's just if it's an email, is it just a cut and paste email then?
No, one email.
One email.
Blind copy.
All right.
One email. Fill in. So like I googled it and I've got all the addresses. Right. So all I do is cut and paste them into the blind copy field, and it's as easy as that. You just have to track that you don't get any back saying that the address is unknown.
Right.
I think there's two that you must. I think there's two local authorities in Scotland you must do an online form for.
Right.
Edinburgh and one other.
Right.
So you just make sure you capture that as it's coming in.
And in terms of response, do they respond quickly or? That was a deadline?
They're meant to respond within 20 working days. But I'm working on one at the moment that, I'm trying to remember. It's probably about 30 working days that we're on at the moment. And we've not got all the responses back on it. So they don't always come in time. And then the other thing with it is that you get varying types of information. It's not always coming back in the same format.
Right, yeah.
So like going back to the hourly rate for social care, some people came back to us and said, like, we're paying £18 to X provider, we're paying £18.50 to Y. So we got lots of information like that. And then another one came back saying, this is the mean of what we pay and this is the median of what we pay.
Right.
And then sometimes you get this. And sometimes you'll get a response saying it's going to be too expensive to tell you. And then also, so this is where it kind of can get a bit frustrating. You can get some that will say, we can't tell you because there's a couple of exceptions that they can make. So they'll say one of the exceptions and then the authority next door will give you so much more information than that. But it all helps guide you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if you're not in everything you want, it's still giving you a guide.
Yeah. So you don't always get all the information that you've requested then?
No, don't always. No. So this thing about the debt I was talking about, that's an ongoing one at the moment. So one local authority has given us, it's all about commercial debt, and they've given us every single empty commercial premise. They've got a list of it all, and another one has told us that they can't give us information. So it's from the absurd to ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm just looking to see if there's any questions from people watching. Has anybody got any questions that they want to ask around this topic? I mean, it is just I suppose it's thinking of what your market might be, and it's just that being that little bit of lateral thinking as well, isn't it, in terms of what might be, what information might be out there that they actually have, and you might not, you might only be interested in Glasgow or Renfrewshire or whatever.
That's right, yes. But when you think about it, every local authority should have a list of every single business within their local authority area. So they've at least got that information. So when you start actually thinking wider than that, there's so much more information that they have. Then there's also information that they'll report on regularly, so that they'll have to hand.
Right, yes, I see what you mean. So, so I hadn't thought about that. So they actually, in terms of, I was at something this morning, we were talking about the old Dun and Bradstreet. You used to be able to ask them for business data.
Oh, yeah.
But it sounds as though actually there's
you still put that in tender?
And I mean, I've seen lists and stuff from Dun and Bradstreet, and you knew just by looking at it that it was out of date and wrong. But anyway, so I mean, I'm guessing that what you're saying is that councils have got quite a lot of that information in their databases as well, because they know where, what businesses are listed and how big they are, presumably, within their patch.
Yeah, and they'll be subject to inspection as well. So like environmental health, trading standards, departments like that will know everything that's going on.
Right. So so if you were in, I don't know, something like pest control, then you could get quite detailed information from councils on your target market then.
Potentially, they won't give you sensitive information, so GDPR would kick in. But you could definitely get ideas about it could kick in for some stuff, but for commercial premises, it wouldn't.
No, I mean, that's it, because I was thinking of commercial premises, so company information as opposed to personal information. But there could be information. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's actually trying to think, being creative and think what you could actually be asking. Okay. Well,
there's also
questions for us.
I was just going to say there, in terms of tendering, if somebody thinks that there's been a tender out that they would be interested in and they've missed it, then you can actually put in freedom of information request out and ask for a copy of all the tender documentation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
you could ask for information about, you can get information about the winning bidder. You can ask for a copy of the winning tender, but that would be heavily redacted. But if you don't ask, you don't get.
I know. Yeah, I'm just thinking of somebody being employed with the big black pen. Or the electronic equivalent of the big black pen.
Yes.
Yeah. That is actually incredibly interesting. So thank you very much for that. We have no live questions from anybody at all. If you haven't got a question, if you've got a comment, has anybody found this interesting, fascinating, or if you've all fallen asleep and gone away to make a cup of tea, which is where I'll be going
if
next.
anybody wants to have a chat, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So for those who are not in the group, when we post this, then Shiona's contact details will be on it. Those of you who are in the group will be able to contact Shiona. I think you've also got a bit of a crib sheet or some helpful hints on a document that we can post as well. So
yes,
that was, can't see typing, so no idea what I'm typing. All right, no problem. No, it was perfectly readable, Fiona, so thank you. Indeed, yes. I mean, it is just, it's that thing of no, we had no idea. As I say, it was just this chance throwaway remark during a coffee when Shiona mentioned this, and I just thought that sounds really interesting because we'd been trying to think what Shiona could talk about. So, you know, if you want to grab me for a coffee sometime and we have a chat, no doubt there will be a little nugget that comes out that that would be potentially of interest to people in this kind of session. So I think we've kind of won over the technology. I think hopefully
yeah.
that worked for everybody who was watching. So I think if there's no more questions or comments, thank you very, very, very much, Shiona, for that. I think that was an absolutely brilliant conversation. I actually enjoyed it as well, so that was good. And I've learned loads, and hopefully everybody else has as well. So I hope that everybody has a fantastic weekend, and we will be doing this again. So if you're interested in participating, then please do get in touch. So thank you again, Shiona, and goodbye.
Thank you.